With over 20 years of experience in marketing, communications, and event management, Lisa Dimino White focuses solely on her passion, inspiring others to actively seek out and create more joy for themselves, their communities, and all of humankind. She does this through her coaching programs, speaking engagements, and her book, Bursting with Happiness. Since she was 6 years old, she struggled with anxiety, fear, and obsessive-compulsive disorder. Despite that, she is one of the most optimistic and positive people you'll ever meet. And Lisa is here to tell you how she's decided to live her life and choose to live it in joy and inspire others to do the same. Well, thank you, Lisa, so much for being here with us today. I'm so excited to have you on Comfort Kills.
My pleasure.
Thank you. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey so far?
Oh my goodness. Thank you. So, I am just a regular person who lives out here in Denver, Colorado. I have two wonderful kids, David,
Okay.
12, and Catherine, 8. Um, have worked in marketing and communications for 20 plus years. And
Mm-hmm.
while I loved it, it wasn't my calling.
Yeah.
And I quickly discovered when I really boiled down to what it is that makes me fired up, it's making people realize how great they are.
Mm-hmm.
And despite our struggles, we all deserve to have more joy in life. And so, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I said, you know what? I'm going that route. I'm going to make it my mission to remind people to spread joy and create a life that they're happy and joyful and
Okay.
bursting at the seams.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. I love the positive energy. Wow. So, what led you to become the joy seeker?
That's me, the joy seeker,
Yes.
which is funny because everybody's like, "You must be so joyful all the time." No, I am not. But
Mm-hmm.
I am a firm believer in we go toward our focus. And if we're
Mm-hmm.
focusing on the negative and the things that aren't going well, that's what we're going to focus
Yeah,
on. And that's what we're going to find more of. And,
yeah,
and so
yeah,
I
yeah.
made it a conscious decision to say, you know what? Let's just embrace our struggles
Mm-hmm.
and be joyful despite them. So I had kind of a pivotal moment a couple of years ago, just, you know, being my everyday me.
Uh-huh.
am the PTA president of my kids' school, and I
Uh-huh.
say that I was elected, and I use air quotes because nobody else wanted the job.
Unopposed.
Unopposed, exactly. I'm not going to let that ruin my victory.
No.
Um, and I do some volunteer work, and I do have a successful consulting business, and things are going really great. But a friend of mine said, "You just have it all together.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage it? You're just so on it." And it occurred to me that wow, I am presenting the exterior of having everything together. In
Yeah.
reality, let's be honest, I don't, and none of us do.
Right.
And it was that facade that I felt like I was putting out there that said, you know what? It's time to get real. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think the best way that I can help people and support people and empower people is to show them that we all have our thing. And
Yeah.
my thing, quite frankly, is anxiety,
Uh-huh.
fear,
Uh-huh.
obsessive compulsive disorder. I mean, everybody's got something.
Right.
My friend was just so visibly surprised, and I'm like, "What are you surprised about?
Yeah.
Everybody's got something." And
Yeah.
it made her feel a little more okay with
Mm-hmm.
being who she is. So there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with sharing our challenges, sharing our
Yeah.
journey, and just embracing and supporting each other as best we
Right.
can.
Right. So, anxiety, fear, many people can relate to that. I mean, I
Yeah.
think a lot of us can pick one thing right now that makes us
Ugh.
anxious every day, whether it's our health or our loved ones, waking up alive every day. We all have many fears, many anxieties, but OCD, now that's a
Ugh.
different thing to overcome. So, are you comfortable with tapping into that a little bit?
Of course, of course. Yeah. I mean, my struggle with that started when I was a kid.
Hmm.
I can remember um, I can remember being in my house. I was maybe 6 or 7, and I remember seeing across the room a staple, just a staple
Okay.
in a stapler, but it was just a random staple on the ground under the desk. Somebody must have stapled papers and it got under the desk.
Hmm.
And I remember all of a sudden my throat started feeling very scratchy.
Oh,
And I got it in my head then and there that that staple somehow was in my throat.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, can you imagine my poor mother when I go up to her and tell her
Mm.
I swallowed a staple? And
Oh
she's like,
my
"Oh my
goodness.
God, you did?" And I said, "Yeah, it's right there on the floor." And
Uh-huh.
of course, a logical person is going to say, "How is that possible?"
Right.
But I was convinced, and ever since then, it got worse and worse. I
Mm.
was afraid of getting sick. I was afraid of somebody I cared about dying. I
Oh.
developed rituals. I developed routines to ward
Uh-huh.
off anything bad happening. It was a
Yeah.
lot of responsibility for a 7-year-old.
Oh.
My parents, yeah, it was rough. It was rough,
Oh.
but
Yeah.
but nobody would have known. I
Mhm.
was still very joyful. I was still a happy kid, but at home, I constantly needed my parents to assure me that everything was going to be okay.
Yeah.
Tough stuff.
It is.
And my mom got me help. My parents got me help. I saw this wonderful, wonderful
Good.
therapist who specialized with children.
Great.
And the irony is she told me a lot of the things that my parents told me.
Yeah.
What are you worried about? This is,
Yeah.
logically, this is not. But the way she explained it meant more to me than the way my parents explained it.
Mhm.
She was
Mhm.
a professional, a person who was
Right.
impartial. My
Yeah.
parents would say anything to make me
Yeah.
feel better,
Yeah.
but she didn't have to. So what she said carried more weight.
Uh-huh.
She gave me a lot of tools. One of the things she shared with me, one of my coping mechanisms was having to tell my mother when something hurt, when I had an ache or a pain. So
Mhm.
she wanted me to start realizing that there was not a connection between having to tell my mom and everything being okay.
Mhm.
So she had me, instead of say to my mom, my back hurts, my chest hurts, my throat hurts, she would have me write it down on a piece of paper and put it in a bowl
Uh-huh.
with the objection or with the intention that
Right.
even though I didn't tell my mom, none of those things would turn into anything catastrophic. So
Mhm.
it started to connect. I
Okay.
was okay all through
Okay.
high school, college, no problem.
Yeah.
Got married.
Uh-oh.
I was 23 when I got married. I was pretty young,
Yeah.
and it resurfaced hard,
Oh.
hard.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was a shock because I, again, had been fine, but moving in with my new husband and creating this new family of him and I,
Mhm.
the stress,
Yeah.
I reverted right back to where I was when
Oh,
I was a kid.
yeah.
So coincidentally, I looked up my old therapist because I was still living out in Virginia, born and
Okay.
raised, and she was still practicing. So I
Okay.
said, "You helped me when I was 8. Can you help me now?"
Oh, yeah.
He said, "I sure can."
Great.
And I asked her why, after all those years, things came back. And she
Right,
said
yeah.
that when we're under stressful situations, stressful circumstances, unusual times, our brains will go back to where we're comfortable.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that was where my brain went back. Only this time, in addition to the anxiety about health, it was now germs. I had a thing with I couldn't clean my own house. I
Uh-huh.
could I it was just horrible.
Huh.
And my poor husband, as a newlywed, he's like, "What did I get into? Holy moly."
Yeah.
And bless
Oh,
his heart, he wanted to make me feel better and wanted me to be okay. So he fell into that constant reassuring that everything was going to be fine, not to worry. But
right.
pretty soon I realized that wasn't the kind of life I wanted. I
Yeah.
couldn't live like that.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
could not. I would make strange connections in my mind. If I thought something was dirty, and if my hands were dirty and I touched something, then that thing was now dirty until I cleaned it, and so forth and so on. So you can imagine how stressful that was to actually
Mhm.
be watching everything like a hawk and
Mm.
mentally preparing myself to clean everything that needed to be cleaned.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
It was
Wow.
awful. It's awful.
I
It's awful.
imagine, and I
Yeah.
I I can't imagine that's being any better with the global pandemic, and
So I've been married for 20 years
okay.
and, you know, got this help right when I got married. Had a little bit of a challenge when I got pregnant with my kids cuz when you're pregnant that's a big step too, but
Exactly.
I handled that pretty well, got a little
Uh-huh.
bit of extra help, found a support group, was able to make it work.
Mhm.
And then COVID hit. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Are you
Mhm.
kidding me? It
Yeah.
is a
I can't
germaphobe's
imagine.
worst nightmare.
Right. Yeah.
Ugh,
Mm.
because it's one of those things where I work so hard to not wash my hands a lot.
Uh-huh.
Now you've got doctors and scientists saying wash your hands more, and I'm like, "All right, buddy, you got it."
Oh,
Meanwhile,
man.
they're raw.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was just and of course, Jonathan, my husband, is like, well, they're telling people who don't normally wash their hands to wash. Yes, I get it.
Yeah.
But I take it to the next level,
Exactly. Yeah.
just the way my brain works. When they
Yeah.
said wipe down groceries, I had a routine. It took me 2 hours to do.
Oh, wow.
Heaven forbid one of my kids were to grab something before I had a chance to sanitize it properly. I mean,
Mm.
it was bad. It
Yeah.
was bad. When this started happening in March,
Yeah.
I shut our family down. I
Hmm.
said, "All right, we're locked down. We're not going anywhere. We're not interacting with anybody." And it was rough. My kids are 8 and 12, and so my son, who's the 12-year-old, we were okay for about a month, 6 weeks. We
Hmm.
had the groceries delivered, and occasionally we got takeout. I was finally okay with that after a month because my cooking is not so good. So everybody's like, "Can we please get a pizza? Please,
Oh.
can we get a pizza?" Sure, we can get a pizza. And of course, I had to take the box outside and put the pizza. It was a whole thing
Right.
anyway.
Yeah.
But I realized that it was starting to he was starting to isolate a little bit more in his room and not use his connections with his friends, and I was like, okay, I'm starting to get a little anxious. But the tipping
Mhm.
point was my parents came over. This was Mother's Day,
Okay.
and, we were on our back deck, safe, you know probably 12 feet apart, if you want to be honest, because if 6 is recommended, 12 is better.
Yes. Makes sense.
It's how my brain works. And my dad had to use the bathroom.
Okay.
And I said, well, you can't come in my bathroom. You
Oh,
can't come in my house. And he was like, Okay, all right." And I could see the look on his face like, are you kidding? Are you serious? And it was non negotiable. I'm like, no way. No, are you kidding? And they left, and I cried.
oh,
And I said, I can't go on like this because we
right.
don't know how long this is going to go on.
Right.
I mean, if we all knew that the end was near, they say, okay, this was May. So if they said, all right, June 1st, we're going to be fine, then I think anybody could tread water as long
Mm,
as they knew there was an end point.
exactly. Yeah.
We
Wow.
didn't know that.
No, and we still
So
don't.
we still don't.
Right.
So it was kind of like an epiphany to me, like, okay, you cannot exist like this for who
Yes.
knows how long. For
Right.
me, especially for my kids, because my
Yeah.
son was already not doing great. And I'm like, I have to figure out a way to be okay with assuming a little bit of risk. I have to live a little bit because if I don't, how am I mentally, my family, how are we going to get through this, even if we don't contract COVID?
Yeah. Yep.
And so called my therapist again. I couldn't
Right.
believe she's still practicing. You wouldn't believe it, Jasmine. She's still practicing. I
That's
tracked her
good.
down.
Yeah.
God bless the Google.
Yeah.
And I sent her an email and I said, we haven't talked in 20 years, but
Yeah.
I need your help. And she remembered me and
Uh-huh.
she's like, yep, let's get on a Zoom call. And I've been communicating with her weekly since that
Okay.
day.
Good. Good.
And it's
Great.
been helping. I've able now to go to the grocery store, run
Uh-huh.
errands. I don't enjoy doing those things. I
Yep.
don't. I still go very early in the morning to avoid a lot of people, but I'm able to do them.
Good. You're living life.
I
Yes.
mean, I'm living. I
Right.
wouldn't say I'm living it up, but I'm functioning.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm taking
Good.
calculated, safe risks and safety
Yes.
measures. My
Yes.
kids are able to. They're actually doing the hybrid school.
Mhm.
They go in
Oh,
person twice a week,
okay.
which is hard for me. The first 2 weeks, I barely slept
Yeah.
because I'm very anxious about it. But I found that when I do something the first time, that's always the hardest. And then after that, I'm okay. I did it once.
Okay.
I can do this again.
Right, right.
So I didn't just burst out of my comfort zone. I burst out of my house, and
Yeah.
I'm able to
Well,
function
that's
again.
good. No, that's huge. That's a huge step.
Huge.
Huge step. And I relate in ways that, becoming a mother, I remember being just kind of much of a germaphobe, and I remember one time my daughter, we were in the public restroom because
Mm,
she needed to go. This is where we're going.
mm,
And then she goes and she's like maybe 2 or 3 years old, and she goes right for the napkins, which is right above the trash can, and her hands go on the truck,
Oh, no.
and I like leaped towards her to grab her, and in the process of grabbing her, my nails like cut her along the cheek.
Oh.
I felt so terrible, and that was, like, my pivotal moment of going, "Okay, I need to, like, relax, I need to
Right.
chill a little bit, I need to, like, take this down a notch because it's not that serious," from trying to prevent her from touching dirty things, I just now, like, sliced her across the face with my nails
Oh,
unintentionally. I
yeah.
felt so, so, so bad, and thankfully, she doesn't have a scar from it or anything, and it healed perfectly, but just that memory,
Oh, I get it. I so get it. It's the love you have is so
mhm,
intense for them. I mean, it's like nothing you've ever had before, and so you wanna protect them at all costs, and my
yeah,
job as a mom is to
mhm,
protect them at all costs. If that
yeah,
means they hate me for locking them down in the house for however long, so
yeah,
be it. I'll take it.
mhm, yeah,
I don't care. But
exactly,
now I realize that we have to I'm not doing them any good by
okay,
keeping the extreme is not the answer.
yeah,
But I get it. Those things in the bathroom, oh, it's my worst nightmare.
yeah,
When I had to travel with my daughter when she was about 3, we were traveling through an airport and I was like, okay, don't touch
yeah,
anything.
yeah,
And so that became the joke ever since
mhm,
we went into a public restroom. Don't touch
yeah,
anything. So I
oh,
was like that pre-COVID, and then when COVID hit, it just exacerbated
right,
to the
yeah,
max. But I really I'm proud of myself because as hard as it was to isolate, I think it was harder to acknowledge that I couldn't live like that
right, yeah,
anymore, and I had to get out of that comfort zone because it wasn't good for any of us, and we
mhm,
just don't know how long we're going to be in this. You can't live in limbo like this for forever,
exactly,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, I have a registered nurse who, back in the day, she was hit really bad by Hurricane Andrew that
Mm,
came through Miami, and so since then, anytime a hurricane comes, her anxiety level is through the roof.
sure.
She has to prepare, she has to do this, she has to do that because she lost her home the first time.
Oh,
And so the fear of losing her home and everything that she owns is just it's still very fresh in her memory. And so we all understood when it came time for hurricane season and there was any type of threat, we knew that we had to kind of give her space and her time and let that anxiety, let her just talk through it a little bit.
yeah.
And so when COVID happened, oh
Oh,
my goodness, I was so worried about her. I checked in
yeah.
on her all the time, and I said to her, I was like, "Are you going to be okay? Please let me know if there's anything I can do." And her coworkers were dropping things off at the house, but she would leave it outside, let it bake in the sun for a day before she'd bring it in and sanitize it and do everything she needed to do. So I was very, very concerned about her. But it's serious stuff. I mean, it takes just a little bit of trauma from your past to really affect you so negatively now with this. So I can only imagine how many people out there right now listening to this and watching this can relate to the struggles that
Yes.
we have. So
Yes.
sure. Thank you for sharing that.
And I think that of course, it's just a reminder to every is keeping you from living the life you want for you, your family. You're not alone. There's help. There's people out there who
Mhm.
can understand and empathize and give you tools to be able to function the way you want to function.
Uh-huh.
We don't have to accept it. We
Yeah.
can we can push through it. And
Yeah.
the thing is too, I accept that I'll never be fearless. I mean, meeting somebody who's fearless, I'm in awe of those people because that's
Right.
not how I'm made.
Yeah.
What I strive to be is fearless.
Mm,
I
mhm.
can bring my fear down to a level where I can function
Mhm.
and have a great life.
Yes.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
But the expectations are just something that I know I want to be able to live a joyful life. And I'm not going to let that or anything else stop me from getting where I want to be.
Yeah.
And we all have that power. We sometimes just need a little help.
Right. Right. No. Beautifully said. So, Lisa, tell me more. So you went from wife to mother to now published. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes. Yes.
So
So
exciting.
I wrote a book. It's called Bursting with Happiness.
Okay.
I wanted to get the message out there, that life is what we want it to be. And even with our struggles, the key to living a happier life is to incorporate more bursts of joy into our daily routine. That's
Mhm.
it. That's
Yeah.
all it is. It's just those little moments where we feel happiness, we feel
Yeah.
peace, we feel comfort, we smile, we laugh, we
Mm.
giggle, whatever it is that gets us to experience that moment of joy is what we need to intentionally put into our daily lives. We can't
Yes.
just know what makes us happy. We actually have to do it. And the more we do it, the happier lives we have. And so the
Right.
book just talks about it talks about my struggles. I'm very open about that, but I
Mhm.
talk about 10 things that give me those bursts of joy. And the
Mhm.
first one is bravery, because
Okay.
through my process of overcoming and dealing with my issues, there's an element of bravery there. Whether
Right.
it's COVID or not, the exposure therapy that I do, that I've had to do,
Mhm.
has given me such confidence that I'm like, all right, I can do this. I
Mhm.
am controlling who I want to be. And that bravery is so empowering, and it makes me feel such joy. But then
Uh-huh.
the other joy is to encourage the readers to think about what brings them joy in their lives and to find ways to incorporate more of that into their daily routine. So
Mhm.
it's on Amazon, Bursting with Happiness, Lisa
Okay.
Dimino White, or you can find it on my website, thejoyseeker.com.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I think it's a quick read. It's super fun and funny, and
Uh-huh.
I'm just happy to have put it out there into the universe to help everybody.
Okay. Do you mind going through the 10 different steps just to kind of give somebody some overview? Very high
Well,
level.
very high level. I have to think about it. So actually, I can
Okay.
incorporate it into. I have a better plan. I have a
Perfect.
better plan.
Okay.
So one of the premises of the way I developed the book and the
Mhm.
mindset model is through an acronym, because who doesn't love a good acronym?
Yes.
It's called CARE,
Okay.
CARE, and this is actually how I developed what it is that brings me those bursts of joy. So the
Mhm.
first one is C. All you have to do is think about what it is in your life that you want to change.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's what we just talked about. We
Right.
spent the first portion of our conversation just talking about what inside you do you feel like you have to make
Mhm.
better, improve, even if it can't be fixed completely, to
Mhm.
live the life you want. So for me, it was my fears and my anxiety and
Yeah.
living with that. And it's a constant evolution. It's constantly checking in, making sure that, does this still need to be in the change category? No, I'm good. I'm good.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
it's something that you're okay with, if it's a flaw or a perceived flaw or something about you that you're not crazy about,
Mhm.
the next step is to look at the A category. Is it
Okay.
something that belongs in the accept category? It's either
Okay.
change or accept.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there might have been a time where my anxieties, my issues could have stayed in the A category. Could have been like, I'm a little anxious, so be it. Only when it started impacting my life, the quality of my life, did it get moved to that change category.
Mhm.
And I took steps to change it.
Mhm.
Something that's in the A right now, like I said, terrible cook, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. It's not something that I need to change or feel passionately about, or
Okay.
think that if I don't change it, the quality of my life or the lives of my families are going to be, you know,
Right.
weak.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The trick is, though, if something belongs in the A, you have to let it. You can't feel guilty or anxious about it.
Mhm.
So for the first few years of my marriage, I recognized that I was not a good cook, but I didn't quite have that acceptance about it. I still felt, ugh, this is the worst. I'm terrible. I felt
Yeah.
very personally affected by the fact that I was a failure at that. And yet I didn't try to improve it either. So
Uh-huh.
that showed me right there that I didn't really care.
Yeah.
Um, but once I said, this is who I am, it's something that I'm not that great at, no big deal. It's like a weight is being lifted and you can accept that. So
Yeah.
cooking, not so much. But for me, it's still very solidly into the A accept category, much to my husband's sadness. Oh,
Uh-huh.
well.
Oh, it's been
And then,
20 years.
please order a pizza.
Yeah.
And then the R is reassessing. So, in
Okay.
order to find more joy in our lives, we have to reassess who we are now. And this is
Mhm.
critical because I think that sometimes we fall into the trap of, oh, I never liked camping. I never liked sushi. I've never been into hockey. There's
Mhm.
no way I'm going to like
Mhm.
it now. Well, you know what? You're not the same person you were a
Mhm.
year, 10 years, 20 years ago.
Right.
So, the reassessing piece is critical,
Yep.
because if you don't have current information on what
Uh-huh.
it is you enjoy, you don't know what to incorporate to add more bursts of joy to your life. So, an
Mhm.
example, about years ago, I was at a friend's house for a barbecue, and there was a football game on in the
Uh-huh.
background, NFL. I think it was the Saints, and I'm watching, and I've never been a football fan,
Uh-huh.
but I was watching, and I was watching the field, the action on the field, and I'm watching the people's reactions around me, and I realized that this was kind of interesting. And
Mhm.
so I started asking questions, and the following weekend I watched another game, and I was like, holy crap, I love football.
Yeah.
Now, living in Denver, I'm a Denver Bronco fan, but oh,
Uh-huh.
they make me very unhappy. So we're not going to discuss that. But in my book, football is
Uh-huh.
one of my bursts of joy because
Okay.
it's something that I love. I look
Uh-huh.
forward to it.
Yeah.
It on a Monday morning, I know that Monday Night Football is going to be on, and it gives me something to look forward to. It makes
Right.
me happy. It's
Yeah.
exciting, and that's all a burst of joy is. Just something little that adds to your day.
Uh-huh.
And for me, football is a burst of joy. And
Okay.
so I never would have known that had I not been willing to question
Uh-huh.
if, in fact, I could possibly like this because I
Yeah.
never had before.
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
yeah, I love it. I love it. Oh, I just love it. And then the E is for embrace. So once we
Okay.
figure out what it is that brings us those bursts of joy, it's all about incorporating them into our daily routine, either doubling down or doing them more frequently. So
Okay.
another example and another burst of joy from my book is
Uh-huh.
Barry Manilow.
Okay.
I love him, Jasmine.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love him. I just adore him. I've seen him in concert a dozen times. I love him.
Uh-huh.
But I recognize that anytime I listen to him, it's going to increase my happiness factor.
Mhm.
And I doubled down. And for $10 a year, I am an official member of the Barry Manilow fan club.
Yeah.
I am a fanalow.
I love it. For 10
I
bucks
love
a
it.
year.
$10 a year. And
Wow.
I get all emails from Barry, from Barry. It's probably his PR people, whatevs.
Hey, hey,
But
whatever.
I can buy cool Barry swag. I can know about his concerts before everybody else. It makes me smile. And
Mm,
so the idea is to double down whenever you
mhm.
can, or just do more of something and
Yeah.
intentionally do that to make that life of yours just as happy as you can because we go through it once. Let's enjoy the ride.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you. I love that. I love the CARES model,
Yes.
care without the S
Yep.
model. And so right now I'm in currently finalizing my doctoral program for nursing, doctoral of nursing, doctor of nursing practice. I need to know what I'm graduating from next this semester. But it's very research heavy. And I love that you mentioned reassessing, and
Yes.
anything with research is always reevaluation. How you evaluate how you've implemented something, take a look at it, and how can you change, tweak,
Yes.
pivot,
Pivot.
remain the same, whatever you need to do. What do you have to do to take it to the next level? So for sure,
Exactly.
the reassessment thing, everybody grows, everybody evolves. That's the whole purpose of comfort kills. Step outside our
Exactly.
comfort zone, something we wouldn't have done at 21, we might consider
Yes.
at 31.
100%.
Something we wouldn't have done 6 months ago before COVID. Now we might be like, you know what? Let's live life a little bit.
Totally. It's
So,
it's like if you really want to take your joy to the next level, you've
yeah,
got to know who you are now. And yes, you're
exactly.
right. It is, let's say you haven't gone skiing in 8 years and your friend texts
Hmm.
you and says, hey, I got a ski pass tomorrow. You want to
Hmm.
go? You could automatically just say, no, go. No, I'm good. No,
Hmm.
thanks.
Hmm.
But let's say you go. There
Yeah,
is still a chance you will not enjoy it. There sure is.
yeah.
And if that's the case, so be it. You spent a day doing something you didn't love. But
Hmm.
what if?
What
What
if?
if you liked it?
Exactly.
Holy moly, you just never know. And we're so quick to say, nope, not interested.
Hmm.
Get out of that comfort zone. Comfort kills, man.
Yeah, yeah, it sure does. I love it. I love it. Thank you for the plug.
Oh,
All right. So what was your pivotal moment when you finally realized that putting pen to paper and publishing something of this magnitude burst with happiness? What was the moment for you that you realized that you wanted to share this with the world?
I am so passionate about
Mhm.
hoping that people could see themselves for their greatness, for their awesomeness. We walk around just not acknowledging how great we really are.
Mm,
And so my hope in writing this book is to encourage people to look inward,
mhm.
to open your eyes to who you are, what you're capable of, and how great you are,
Yeah.
because we all are in our own way. And the book also talks a lot about kindness and how we also have the power to influence and impact the lives of others with
Yeah.
very, very small tweaks to how we influence them. I mean, it's a matter of showing appreciation and gratitude for people who go out of their way to
Mhm,
help us.
mhm.
It's seeing your colleagues and your customers and your clients as people first. There
Yeah.
was an example I wrote in the book that when I first got my job, my first professional job, um, a colleague, her sister was in a terrible car accident, and they were going to the hospital every evening after work to
Mm,
check on her. And of course, I thought, what can I do? How can I help?
right.
So one evening, I before she left for the hospital, I went and grabbed a bucket of chicken and I brought it to her and I said, "Here, take this so you and your family doesn't have to have the hospital food tonight.
Yeah.
Night number 21, have something else."
Right.
And it wasn't the chicken. It was the fact that somebody actually went out of their way to help another human. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
sometimes a bucket of chicken does more for the soul than it does for the stomach.
Yeah. I
It's
love it.
just a matter of looking at others with humanity and
Mhm.
kindness. And especially now, I mean, we thought pre-COVID we had division and angst and
Mm,
anxiety and tension in our culture.
mhm.
It breaks my heart to see how how divided and angry we
Mhm,
all are, and we're missing that human connection.
mhm.
And so the other day I went for a walk around my neighborhood, and I saw a guy with his garage door open, and he had a Green Bay Packers banner up
Uh-huh.
in the garage, and that's my second favorite team.
Okay.
And of course, I'm like, hey, because I'm always looking for an opportunity to connect with people. I love it.
Mhm,
It's so powerful when we have
mhm.
something in common, whatever it is, as small as
Yes.
it is. It can be a
Yeah.
surface of anything. It doesn't have to be a deep connection. And I'm like, hey, love that Aaron Rodgers. He's going to take it this year, and we're just having a great conversation.
Mhm,
A couple minutes later, I wished him well. I walked by his yard, the front yard, and there is a sign for a candidate that I don't support.
mhm.
And I paused and I thought, if I had seen that sign first, would I have actually went out of my way to say hello and wish him a good day? And the answer is, you bet I would have. I
Yeah.
would have made sure of it, because I find myself trying so hard to connect with people, with humans,
Yeah. Mhm.
especially those that I disagree with on the big things,
Mhm, mhm.
the fundamental differences. I try so hard to connect on some level, even if we're just driving the same kind of car. I'm like, yeah,
Right,
how's it
right.
going? Nice. It's just that human connection, and
Yeah.
and combine COVID with the election coming up, and I just feel like
Mhm,
we are all just going in such a different direction. And what are the ways that we as
mhm.
regular people can connect with our fellow humans in just a small way?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it makes a big difference. I really do.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, and thank you for leaving candidates out of it, but I
Oh,
was really
please, please.
much
'Cause that's not
appreciated.
important. It's not
It's
important.
not.
It's
It's not.
not. It's
Yes.
really not. It's about,
100%.
we're people
Yeah.
first. We should be united, and let's
Mhm.
just, see each other for the commonalities we have.
Right, right, exactly. And it's funny that you mentioned that, like in connection and everything. And every single one of my podcast guests this far has been about that connection and taking it to the next level. And they all offer something different, whether they've
Yes,
published as an author or they offer services to their clients or whatever it may be. Everybody says the exact same thing is they're not looking to be, this grand company that offers services to hundreds and thousands of people out there. They're just looking for those tiny connections and connecting with those individuals, and that is much more important to them to have those few connections than it is to have all of these people lined up for their services when they're not able to connect anymore. And
definitely.
it's amazing how every single person was able to, it all comes full circle. Everybody has very similar messages in one way or another, and it's
Yep.
been pretty fascinating to see how it all connects, speaking to the different individuals. My husband recently mentioned He used to drive a Harley Davidson, and
Oh,
he
cool.
he mentioned to me that, he's since gotten rid of that. Miami is terrible when it
Oh,
comes to motorcycle accidents. It's just absolutely awful. So when we moved down here, he decided he was gonna get rid of it. And he used to be a soldier in the Army for many, many years. So again, back to just him and that camaraderie and being, like, raised in that type of culture. When he got the Harley Davidson, there was that same camaraderie. He had his bike club. He had even if you don't know each other and you're passing each other up on the road, you kind of do this little hand wave. And
nice.
and
I
most
love that.
recently, yeah, and most recently he got a Jeep. And he's like, "You know what? I didn't realize how much I would enjoy having a Jeep." And I was like, "Okay, well, what is it that you're enjoying other than just, being in a Jeep?" He said, "It's that hand wave again, where we're
I
just
love it.
passing each other down the road, don't know anybody, and then you see another Jeep and you do your little hand wave." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well," and that's all he wanted was just those tiny little connections.
Oh, I love it. I
So,
love it. We all
yeah,
need connections. We
yeah,
all need that, and especially now. I
yeah.
mean, gosh, we are so like virtually we can't
Mhm.
connect. We can't hug and we
Yes.
can't do those things we're so used to doing. Oh, I love that. Well, that's one of the reasons I also really love football. I
Uh-huh.
mean, it's the connection, it's the
Mhm.
camaraderie, it's the human component. I mean, I I just love it when when a team is playing well and everybody's on, yeah, or when they're not and we're all like, oh, it's just
Mhm.
there's that human connection. It's
Yeah,
huge,
for sure.
huge. I love it. And it's so easy. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know why we overthink it. It's when I before COVID, when I would be at the grocery store, I don't know what it is, but I have this spidey sense. I love to be on the lookout for how I can connect with somebody or just
Okay.
smile. I miss smiling to people.
Yeah.
I can't
Oh,
see it with the mask,
no.
you know, but
Yeah.
that was a connection. That was an
Mhm.
acknowledgement and an element of connecting with somebody. But I was at a grocery store right before COVID, and this little older lady, bless her little heart, those stupid produce bags you can't open to put your
Yeah.
broccoli in?
Yes. Oh my
Poor
goodness.
little thing was just like, and I can barely do it, and I've got
Yeah.
pretty good vision. So I bolted over there and I'm like, let me help you. And,
Mhm.
I'm doing it and we're chit chatting about the weather and, gave her a couple extra ones just in case. But, Jasmine, it took
Yeah.
me maybe a minute and a half, but I could not wipe the smile off my face because
Uh-huh.
I was like, I
Mhm.
just helped another human. I
Mhm.
helped another human being. We connected. She's going to have interactions now. That's going to make her feel good. She's
Yeah.
going to connect in a positive way with others. In
Yep.
my mind, it's just something we can all tangibly do to make the world a bit
Mhm.
brighter.
Yeah. Pay it forward.
Yes, little
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Produce bag. Find your
Exactly.
produce bag.
Yeah.
Find a way to help.
Yeah. You see somebody reaching for a high shelf, come over and help them.
Please. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It makes a difference. It really does. People just want to be acknowledged, appreciated,
Yeah.
thanked.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the
For
simple
sure.
things.
For sure. So, Lisa, do you work with clients at all? If somebody were to reach out to you and say, "Hey, I love your message. I love your energy. I would love to learn more."
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. So, a couple of different ways. I love speaking.
Mhm.
That is my passion. I enjoy getting in front of a group, talking about their greatness and productivity. When people feel like part of a team, it is incredible the kind of results you're going to get from a business perspective.
Uh-huh.
So, I love doing that. All of my talks have been virtually these days, which
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
fine. I enjoy that as well. Can't wait to be on a stage again, though, for sure.
Yeah.
I do have some coaching programs, both one on one and group, virtually, of
Okay.
course. It's funny. I use the term coach, but quite frankly, I'm more like a joy cheerleader.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just I'm in your corner, reminding you of your strength and your competency, and to see yourself in a little bit different way.
Yeah.
And so, it's just another I see myself as just another tool in your toolbox when you need another set of ears to listen to something you're struggling
Mhm.
with. And it's
Mhm.
been amazing. I mean, just one more story because this is a
Mhm.
great one.
Yeah, yeah, for
So
sure.
another message of mine is another way to find more joy is to reduce the suck factor. So
Mm.
basically, there are things in life that suck that we have to do. I mean,
Uh-huh.
who enjoys going grocery shopping, or who enjoys mowing the lawn or
Uh-huh.
moving? I mean, these are things that we do not enjoy doing. But
Mhm.
the one trick to having more joy in life is to figure out how to make something suck less.
Uh-huh.
So a colleague had to move her daughter
Uh-huh.
out of a storage unit, her furniture into the daughter's new apartment. And she was
Uh-huh.
just dreading it. She's like, oh, it's going to be a miserable day, whatever. So we talked about it and I said, how can we make it less miserable?
Mhm.
Haha. She rented a cherry red Mustang convertible,
Okay.
loaded up the stuff, and made a few trips back and forth between the unit and the apartment.
Uh-huh.
Now, she cranked the tunes up, she had the top down, she had the best day because
Huh.
she didn't rent the truck or the U-Haul. She said, it took her a few extra trips and it
Uh-huh.
was a little more money, but she said it turned it into such a wonderful fun day because she
Mm.
just had a great time.
Yeah.
And I thought, now that's the key.
Yes.
That's how to have joy in your life. That was a
Exactly.
burst of joy.
That
She
sure
turned it
was.
into something that ended up really being a positive experience. So when
Yeah.
we're doing those daily dreadful things, think about how you can turn it around or at least add a little element of joy. So if you have to
Mhm.
go grocery shopping and you hate doing it, save your favorite podcast episode like Comfort
Mhm.
Kills and listen to it while you're shopping.
Love
That
it.
way it becomes something you're looking forward to. So
Yes,
it's just
yes.
those mind tricks of how can I add more joy to my life
Mhm.
intentionally.
Exactly, exactly, and that's a perfect plug, beautifully done. But for sure, that's definitely something I would do. Here, I live 12 miles from my work, and it takes me on a bad day an hour and a half to get to and from work.
Oh,
It's
oh,
awful, it's awful. So I can listen to almost 2 podcasts in that
there you
time frame,
go.
and I mean, I've burned through all the podcasts, and I've ran out of material to listen to, and so I had to create my own.
Nice, nice.
But for sure, like that's definitely how you take the suck out of driving and sitting in traffic and just the
Exactly.
agony of sitting stoplight to stoplight and not moving anywhere. And instead of having that frustration and interacting in a closed vehicle with other drivers who would suck even more than you do, it just took my mind off of it, and it was really my
Exactly.
my decompressed time. Yeah.
Because either way, whether you're angry about it taking an hour and a half or you're just accepting
Mhm.
it and finding ways to make it more joyful, it's still going to take an hour and a half.
Exactly.
So you might as well be
Exactly.
positive about it.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
I love it. I love it.
Yes. Awesome. So, um, if you, let's see, what advice would you give someone who has self doubt, who you're meeting now, and you're seeing that they just lack the joy in their world? What advice would you give them? The car and the rental situation, the moving situation was a perfect example.
Yeah.
Um, but let's say somebody comes to you and they're just like, you know what, I think I'm just not having a great year. 2020 has been absolutely awful for me. I mean, as with for everybody, but for them, they just can't seem to get themselves out of it. What few exercises or resources would you recommend for them, Lisa?
The first thing I would recommend is to do the change versus accepts
Mm,
model. I would really say, okay, let's talk about the different areas in your life. And if it's truly something that you're unhappy about, do you feel like it needs to be actively dealt with? Does it go
mhm.
into the change category? And if so, let's come up with a plan. Now,
Yeah.
if it's not something you're ready to attack yet, you're not something you're ready to work on actively, then let's put in an accept for now
Hmm.
and be okay with it. It doesn't
Hmm.
mean you have to embrace it and love it, but you accept it. You're okay with it. You don't feel
Hmm.
guilty. You don't feel stressed about it. It just is what it is. And in a month or so, you can revisit and see if anything's changed. But a lot of the times, the clients I work with, they just don't see themselves for who they are. I have
Mm.
marathon runners who tell me, I can't do anything.
Huh.
Are
Huh.
you kidding? Really? This is actually coming out of your mouth.
Right.
I mean, people, it's just mind boggling to me because they're always comparing themselves to somebody else. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what it all comes down to, what we very first talked about. You
Hmm.
don't know what somebody else's issues are.
Yeah.
Believe me,
Yeah.
there's something about you that other people are jealous of. I
Hmm.
guarantee it. I
Hmm.
guarantee it. And what I like to do is just bring those things to the surface. Just
Hmm.
remind them that, you're not seeing yourself objectively. You're being way too hard on yourself. Let's build who you want to be. Let's figure out a way for you to feel as great as you are, as great as
Hmm.
everybody else sees you as. And
Hmm.
it's just tough to do when there's so many challenges already with this year, but more
Right.
so just challenges within ourselves, and we're so hard on ourselves and it just breaks my heart. And let's just, sometimes good enough really is good enough,
Hmm.
especially
Hmm.
we're dealing with this. I mean, I have friends who are beating themselves up over the fact that they're not doing a great job with the parenting of the school, the virtual schooling.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, I the first thing I say to them is, "You're not alone," because
Mm-hmm.
we are all struggling.
Exactly.
Secondly, are you kidding me? We're in survival mode, people.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
are doing the best we can. Our kids
Mm-hmm.
are gonna be fine. The teachers know what they're doing. They're gonna catch them up.
Yeah.
Let's just Nobody's expecting your kid to come out of a pandemic, you know, advancing 3 grade levels because you did such a great job. I mean, good for you if you can, but
Yeah.
let's be honest, that's not gonna be most of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just trying to get through it. Sometimes good enough really is good enough, and to
Yeah,
just be
yeah,
okay with that.
yeah, yeah. No, great, wise words. Thank you.
Mhm.
Um, so what's the most common reason for people not to succeed in finding joy? You've already discussed with them, go through the care model, and they're still just bound to this, woe is me, I cannot get out of this. What do we do then? Just scrap it, move on?
It's a choice and
Mm,
it's intentional.
yeah,
You have to make it a priority.
yeah.
If I sit here and say I'm miserable, I have terrible anxiety, I can't do anything, I'm you know
Uh,
worthless, then yes, of course that's how I'm going to feel, and that's what my life's going to reflect. The universe listens. I firmly
exactly.
believe that.
Hmm.
There are some people who don't want to be happy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Their mindset is just, I'm a victim, and I'm unhappy, and those people usually don't call me and to want to work together because
Yeah.
they know that I'm not offering anything that they truly want.
Yes. Uh-huh. Right.
My point
Good
is,
point.
let's just be intentional and make the
Mhm.
choice, and then the rest is going to happen. Even the bad things that happen. I mean, I've had to be reminded a couple times by my husband, didn't you write a book on joy? I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, it's not like we ignore the negative. We feel the
Uh-huh.
negative. We do.
Yeah.
I see
Yeah.
it. I'm not
Yeah.
blind to it. I just choose not to dwell and engage.
Mhm.
And that's the difference. And sometimes I need to be gently reminded of that because I'm
Yeah.
human.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of I want the life that I want, and I want that life to be joyful,
Yeah. No.
and it's just making a choice.
Right. Be intentional, be there, be here now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Be forgiving, have grace for
Yeah.
yourself and others.
Exactly.
Oh, we're
Yeah.
all doing the best we can.
Self-love, self-appreciation. For
Yes.
sure. Mhm.
Yes. We're awesome in our own way.
Yeah. Yeah.
In our own way. Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Lisa, if you had a billboard, what would it say?
I had a billboard.
Yeah. Free of charge.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
It would say, acknowledge your awesomeness.
Okay.
With Lisa's big 2 thumbs up.
Yeah. No, I love it. That's perfect right there.
Acknowledge your awesomeness.
Yeah. Yeah. No, beautiful.
Yeah,
Anyone can relate to that.
absolutely.
Anyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So, Lisa, if somebody would like to reach out to you, one of our guests, listeners, audience would like to reach out and just kind of get to know you better, maybe scope out your social media, where are some places they can find you?
Absolutely. Well, thejoyseeker.com is a great place.
Hmm.
I am on Instagram at Lisa Dimino White. So it's LaSaDimino White.
Hmm.
Um, Facebook at Lisa Dimino White as well. Um, I'm not so great on the Twitter, but I am on it. It's
Yeah.
at the_joy_seeker. Got to
Okay.
get better with the Twitter. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where I don't find it as fun
Yeah.
as Instagram or Facebook,
Hmm.
so I tend to forget about it, but would
Same.
love for people to catch up with me there.
Okay.
Lisa at thejoyseeker.com is my
Okay.
email. If your listeners listen to the book or excuse me, read the book and
Hmm.
um, it resonates, please let me know. Always
Hmm.
happy to talk with groups. If you guys have organizations you're affiliated with that you would love to just
Yeah.
get my message out to, I
Yeah.
would be honored to just share
Right.
some time with them. If you have a
Yeah.
book club and you want to read the book and have me pop in, I would absolutely love it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Lisa at thejoyseeker.com. I would love to connect with each and every one of you.
Okay. Well, Lisa, I think you do share a very important message, especially right now with everything COVID-19. I was actually speaking to my professor the other day, and we were speaking just how relevant being like the mindfulness and self appreciation, self love, self care right
Mm,
now is so important. It's just a message that everybody, no matter their background or their career foundation or anything like that, anybody and everybody, and I work in healthcare, but everybody needs to hear it right now. And so we mentioned how this is going to be a hot topic for the next year or two to come in conferences and stuff. So thank you for saying that, because definitely the energy that you exude and the message that you're saying is just something that everybody needs to hear. So I really do hope people are able to see what I see and hear what I hear, and reach out to you as well, and just get in contact and make that connection, because you never know where it's going to lead next, right? So,
absolutely. I would love to help, truly. And congratulations on your upcoming graduation.
well, thank you, thank
You're
you,
welcome. How
thank you.
exciting.
Almost there, a little stressed, but almost
Hang in there. You're going to make it.
there.
You're going to get there
Yeah.
one step at a time.
The good thing is I have a great support network. So I do feel like even today at
Wonderful.
work, I was super stressed, but knowing that I have a good support network and everybody at work is supporting this endeavor as well. It's not
Yes.
just me trying to do something at school, but in, just really encouraging, and it's comforting to know that I have a good network of people.
It's
Uh,
huge. It's wonderful.
so Lisa, sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So is there anything that I have left out that I could have asked, that I didn't touch on, that you would like to discuss?
I don't think so. I think we've pretty
Okay,
much nailed it. I so appreciate this opportunity and,
of course.
can't thank you enough for having me on your show.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Lisa, for being here. I really have enjoyed our conversation, and I really hope that we stay connected in the future, and that there will be more opportunities for us to connect then as well.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa.